4473s, background checks, running permits. It should all be thoroughly explained, and thoroughly explained in a way to where there's no thing that hasn't been answered, to where there's no doubt in the person's mind that they are confident in doing these things. Now, after they're thoroughly trained, there should be mock gun sales that are done. So there should be some blank 4473 forms that get copied and in a mock gun sale. Now you want to get to the supervised sales. This is where either a very qualified employee who's already gone through their batch of just proving that they know how to do this is breathing down the new employee's neck, or a supervisor is breathing down the new employee's neck. And this should be done several times. And during the supervised sale period, they should be at the level to where they're doing tons of them without one error whatsoever before they don't need somebody breathing down their neck. No matter what any employee skill level is, another employee who has gone through their supervised sales and has never really made a mistake on the 4473s and background checks should always second check everybody. So everybody should be second checking everybody. Not one gun should leave your store without all the paperwork being second checked. Complicated gun sales, like one to a person with a U-pin or one to a person who's in law enforcement, where it's not your typical gun sale and it requires some other variations on the paperwork, I recommend just having a couple very qualified people running those, because they're likely to not happen that much, and you just really don't want to overbear somebody with these variations in paperwork that are very rare. There ought to be some checklists with the 4473s and background checks. So you could have it to where there is a check sheet and a cheat sheet that has to be done along with all the 4473 forms and background checks, that just has a how-to step-by-step guide, and every gun sale has that check sheet to try to avoid or eliminate somebody missing a certain spot. Now, I do think that any kind of numbers on the forms, whether it's a permit number, driver's license number, serial number of the gun, you want to read it forward and backwards. Okay, so you read it forward on the gun, forward on the paperwork, backwards on the gun, then backwards on the paperwork. In the act of going forward and backwards should alleviate error. I also think that you 100% should take photocopies of their driver's license and permits and include that in the 4473 form. And I'd even go as far as to say, and I'm not sure if you can do this, but you take a photograph of the serial number of the gun and then print that out real quick and put that in the paperwork to confirm that it was this type of gun with that serial number. Now, in the number 8 spot is take as much time as needed. With all of these things that I'm mentioning, take as much time as you need. Now, focus on only doing the background check and paperwork. If this means having a separate back room where you go to do all the background check stuff so that there's no noise or distractions, do it. If this means that that you're filling out the paperwork and the customer is asking you questions about the gun while you're focusing on copying the serial numbers and their ID and all that, tell the customer, I have to have my 100% undivided attention on this paperwork. Make sure your focus is on that paperwork and that you're not continually being distracted from it. Now, the final point is something where your employee absolutely should know the repercussion for messing up paperwork. It should be spelled out plain as day. right upon hiring them. Even if you mess up this paperwork, it can make our company go out of business, and if you really mess it up, you could end up in prison. They have to know how serious this paperwork is. It's make it or break it.